Mic'd up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Highlights from Lowlife. Robbie, you got some theme music?
Yeah. Drag it out for a second, would you?
All right.
Well, hey, where are we?
We are in Washington, D.C. on our 4th annual baseball trip. We are just outside of Nationals Ballpark, where tonight the Republicans are playing the Democrats in the annual baseball game at the stadium. Last I saw,
that's
the
not true.
Republicans were winning 7-5 in the 3rd or 4th inning. You can watch the game on TV. The level of play is a really bad softball game, but it's a huge party downtown here. Everybody's watching the game from the rooftops. We are at the top of the Homewood Suites, right downtown. We're going to be going to a game with the Nationals day after tomorrow, and then we're going to head down to Baltimore to see a game at Camden Yards, and then finally we'll finish up at Citizens Bank with the Phillies. Did I stall enough, Rob?
Let's see. Oh, it doesn't play.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
no.
no theme music tonight, everybody.
Wait. Highlights from
Lowlifes.
Lowlife.
And this
Wow.
is, and I'm Tiger. Wow, coming to you from rooftop, looking
Shout
down.
out to our
If
friends.
you look,
Shout out to our friends from Yankees Coast to Coast. Boo.
boo. If you look behind me, I have the National Stadium in my
Yeah.
background.
Tiger's got
So
the ballpark.
my head
Yeah.
is about as big as it can be.
Beautiful venue, and we thought we'd take the opportunity on this show to talk about our baseball road trips over the last several years, and talk about the one that we're doing right now over the next few days.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Robbie, what do you got behind you there?
So right there, you can see it. It's the Capitol building.
Oh, I know. I know. My face is.
and right behind Terry is Nationals Park, where the game's
Yep.
going on right now.
Yeah, and Terry clearly has jaundice.
Yeah. Maybe I have too much orange makeup on.
All right. So again, the Lowlifes, group of baseball players that got together during the pandemic and did some mental health Zoom calls, and those evolved into doing top 5 lists with our buddies over 2 or 3 hours a week. We are now on the Mic'd Up platform, the platform that you're watching us on now. And if you're interested in leaving us a question or comment, just hit the microphone at the bottom of the screen.
Please leave
yes.
comments.
We're getting comments, Tara. They're coming
I see.
in. Yeah. At any rate, when we were doing these Zoom calls, we started in 2020 doing the Zoom calls, and we said, when this pandemic is over with, we need to do something fun. So the first trip that we planned was to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, in October of 2021. It was an absolute blast of a time. 6 of us went, flew out to Albany while everybody was still wearing their masks, and drove the 70 miles or so to Cooperstown and spent 4 days going through the Baseball Hall of Fame.
The first 3 days,
Right.
we drank 14 pitchers of beer.
Yeah. So, hey, Ter, tell us a little bit about your favorite parts about our Cooperstown trip.
My favorite part. Don't put me on the spot. Am I supposed to remember that far back?
Well, yes, it was the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well, if our buddy Marty were here, he would say the video of Abbott and Costello for one, and that was great. That was also part of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, the Who's on First video.
The Who's on First video. There's a whole
Mhm.
section on there.
So they devote a little theater and they play that comic routine over and over and over again. And our joke was that Marty could stay in that room all day long and watch
Yeah.
the show over and
He
over again.
didn't need to go anywhere else in the whole museum. I thought one of my favorites was all the lockers of the team players. Well, every team had a locker, such as San Francisco Giants had their locker, and what is the coach, the female coach's name?
Alyssa Knockin.
Alyssa Knockin. She had a bunch of her stuff in there because she's the first woman to ever be in the MLB as a
That
coach.
coach, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you, Robbie?
At the Hall of Fame, I mean, I think I mentioned in the last one. It's a weird. Everybody knows about my weird. Uh, I don't want to say love, but admiration for Rabbit Moranville. But
Yeah.
when they made a tour to Asia back in, I think it was 1934, they have a great varsity jacket that Rabbit Moranville wore with USA here. It had the old National League sleeve on one, or the National League patch and logo, and the American League logo on the other side. Leather sleeves, red jacket with USA across. It weirdly enough, the both times I've been to the Hall of Fame, it's frozen me in my tracks, and I've looked at that jacket every time. So oddly enough, that's something that I'm really attracted to, that Hall of Fame. I'll tell you what. And then honestly, every every time I've left, I mean every single day when we did our trip together, we were there 3 days or 4 days. I went with my dad one time, which was a great trip, and we were there for 3 days. And every day that I left, on my way out, I touched Willie Mays' plaque and I touched Roberto Clemente's plaque. So for me, those are all the big deals at the Hall of Fame for sure.
So hey,
Very
Robbie,
cool.
is Big Juicy with you over there?
Big Juicy is standing by. He helped me sing the theme song.
Well, yeah. Hey, ask Big Juicy what was his favorite part of
Oh,
the
a big juicy
Cooperstown.
sighting.
My favorite recollection would be Cooley's Bar down the street from the museum
Hell yeah.
in Cooperstown. We took over that place and we had a rockin' time. So let me
Yes.
get here, but yeah, we had a great time there. Cooley's, of course, all the baseball stuff. But you guys are going to cover a lot of baseball stuff, so I'm going to do the sidebar here and say Cooley's is my favorite spot.
Oh,
If
very nice.
if the owners of Cooley's saw this show, they'd want to sponsor it because the Cooley's Stonehouse Tavern in Cooperstown, New York, is absolutely amazing.
And I'd like to welcome Big Juicy to the show. First time, I think.
Yes.
On screen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sharing this for Robbie here.
I thought my head was big.
All right. Well,
And Rob?
I really, it was my second time at the Hall of Fame, but it had been quite some time. If you're a baseball fan, you have to go. The history of the game is laid out on several different floors in this building. Just a great time. Different parts of the game are portrayed for you. One of the fun things that we did is we were able to take pictures of ourselves to be put on baseball cards from different times in history, like a 1965 design or a 1975 design. Um, and any fan can do this as they're walking through the hall, get the pictures made, and have the JPEG files sent to you, and you could share those with your friends. The downtown area outside of the hall itself is very cool. We already mentioned Cooley's, but there's Double Days Whiskey. So you can have a baseball themed whiskey bar, which is awesome. Almost every store downtown has different types of um, memorabilia from different periods of time. If you want a baseball jersey for a team that doesn't exist anymore, you can find it somewhere in that 3 block radius of the Cooperstown area.
Can I
And then,
just say one thing
yeah,
real quick? Terry told me when you go to Cooperstown, it is the only shopping district in America where the women stand on the street, wait for their men who are in the stores. And
Hey,
Exactly.
guys,
if
hey
you
guys,
haven't
look
been there,
who
it
I
is
have here.
oh my
Sorry,
God!
I was
All
late.
right.
I was updating my computer, and it wouldn't update in the timely fashion.
Marty.
Thank you for joining us, Marty.
you have a party.
Cheers.
So, one more thing about Cooperstown that I wanted to bring up was the Hotel Otsego, which
Yeah.
is where
Wait.
Hall of Fame inductees stay on the weekend that they're inducted, along with all of the other members of the Hall of Fame. Great little place, very old, but much character. And there's a little bar in the basement, and each of the members of the Hall that are still alive have their own personalized drinking glass. Very cool. You got to see
And they drink for free.
it. Exactly. So we had our great trip to Cooperstown in 2020 and said, you know what? This is a good group of guys. We get along well together. Let's start planning our 2021 trip.
I think your
Where
math sucks. I think 2021 is
2022 trip.
yeah.
So it's 2022,
Wait,
and we decide on the May timeframe for our trip.
we got a
And
comment. We got a comment. Somebody wants to correct you.
okay, great.
Webby, I think that's the Otissaga Hotel,
Oh no,
I
that was
not
actually
what you said.
I actually think that JC's wrong.
Wow.
But we
I'm
can
glad
argue
you
about
guys are.
that later.
I'm glad you guys are not in the same place together because I'm sure there would be fisticuffs.
All right. So 2022, where are we going to go on our trip? And after much studying and determining where we're going to go and who we might see on our trip, we decide on St. Louis to see the Cardinals play our hometown Giants and the Kansas City Royals, which required a 3-hour drive. All right, Tara, tell us a little bit about what you remember about that trip, if anything.
well. For one, we stayed. Our seats were across the left field, behind the left field wall, and it was an all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink fiesta and game, of course. It was a blast.
So,
The,
just to explain this, Terry's referring to the Cardinals Hall of Fame, which actually sits outside of the stadium, but you're buying seats to sit in this building that overlooks the stadium. So you look inside to the field over the left field wall.
Yep.
Very
and
cool.
I have to admit that we did not meet a mean or nasty person at that stadium. Everybody was really fun and really nice.
Yes, we were
But
wearing our Giants jerseys, our Orange Friday jerseys, and the Cardinals fans kind of gravitated to us.
They
They said,
and
"Hey,
they were
how you doing?"
also thankful for us coming to the stadium.
Yes.
That was
They,
it was great.
they were chasing us for our purses.
Well, you got to tell that now.
all right, yeah. So we have to provide context.
Oh
Because
yes,
otherwise,
context. Right.
Robbie, what was your best memory of Cardinals Stadium?
Being chased for his purse. What else?
well, I will just say that Cardinals Nation, where we sat, just outside the ballpark, but it's part of the Cardinals program. At $100, it was all you could eat and all you could drink. And all I remember is how excited everybody was when the Giants' last batter was up, and there was or I guess it was the Cardinals batter that one night we were there. 2 balls and 2 strikes, and the guy kept fouling off pitches, and people kept going, one more. Because as soon as the last out is made, they cut it off. And I know Jonesy and I and Marty were trying to count the beers, and we stopped at 120 between the six of us for a 9-inning ball game. Thank God there was no pitch clock. But yeah, my memory is how excited everybody got every time the guy fouled off the last pitch before there was actually the third out, and how quickly people would order, and those orders counted. So yeah, it's, oddly enough, that's my memory.
Hey, big Juicy. What's your favorite memory of Cardinals Stadium, Busch Stadium?
My memory is you guys ordering the server over to me and to tell me it's the last call. So I got the last call haul about 10 times. I have very little recollection of that night.
I think we kept telling Dave it was the last call starting like in the 6th inning. Last call, Dave. Last call.
So, a couple of things about our experience that night. I remember it's all you can drink, but it's Anheuser-Busch products only, of course, because that's the ownership group for the Cardinals. And then I remember after the game, which was a really good game, you go down outside the stadium. There's a little square area where there's food trucks and bands, and all the fans commiserate after the game, win or
Picnic
lose.
tables.
Very cool
Everybody's
environment,
Yeah.
The
and
weather
it's a
was beautiful.
celebration of the Cardinals and baseball.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a
picnic
great time.
tables everywhere. The weather was perfect. You know, the warm, humid evenings in the Midwest.
Yeah. All right.
It
So
was
then, guys, we finished our jaunt in St. Louis, and we loaded up into a van and drove across to Kansas City to
Now,
see a
wait a
Royals
second.
game. All
We
right, go
cannot
ahead. Go ahead.
we cannot tell this story without talking about our stop in Columbia, Missouri.
Oh, please do, Robbie.
All right. So we stopped at an Applebee's in Columbia, Missouri, right off of I-70, just because we were hungry. It's pretty much the halfway point between St. Louis and Kansas City. Big Juicy had to make a run to the bathroom, and our waitress immediately caught on what we were all about, and so Dave went to the bathroom, and she bought in that Dave was the problem, and or excuse me, Big Juicy. We don't want to say his name. Big Juicy was the problem, and so as
also known
we,
as Big Juicy.
yeah, we all ordered our beers and our food, and when Dave came back to the table, she came up and said, "What do you want?" And Dave kind of had a, excuse me, Big Juicy had a dumbfounded look on his face, and she said, "Are you going to sit there and swallow your spit, or do you want something to drink?" And
I didn't know if I should tell her what I was thinking at that time when she asked me what did I want.
I immediately determined that this was the greatest server ever. And the
Yes.
rest
This
of the day,
girl, she was sharp.
I was like, whatever happened, it was Dave's problem. Dave caused it.
Yes.
Excuse me, Big Juicy. So yeah, that is the most memorable stop. I mean, there is no such thing as the memorable Applebee's experience unless you've been to Applebee's with Big Juicy.
Yeah, this girl is a stand-up comedian. She was sharp.
She was great. She was great.
Was so much
Yep.
fun. And
Well, we did eventually finish our meal at Applebee's and headed into Kansas City, and we checked into our hotel, and we went down to the hotel bar and talked to the bartender because it was pretty stuffy there. You know, a lot of business people, kind of not our thing. So we asked him where his favorite dive bar was, and he pointed us to a place called the Peanut. Robbie, could you explain the Peanut to our listeners?
I cannot. The Peanut
dive bar
is
does
the
not
Peanut is
explain it.
it's a neighborhood dive bar. They I mean, it's everything you want when you say, "Hey, where do the locals go? Where do the locals hang out? Where do you like to go after you get off work?" And it is exactly what you would have pictured. There was one bartender with probably 70 people in that place, and nobody waited for anything. That guy was on top of it. They it was 6 wings for $20, and I'm like, really, 6 wings for $20? When the wings came out, they were, I think we called them pterodactyl sized
Yeah.
wings. They were gigantic, but it was just the decorations. Everything is dive bar heaven. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, it was so great. I think we went back there a second, maybe a third time, and it's on the bucket list. Like if you go back to Kansas City, we're going back there. Go to the original one, the one on
Robbie,
Broadway. Go to the original Peanut in Kansas
Robbie,
City.
tell me about the clientele.
I would defer to Big Juicy for that.
No, no. Well, actually, we had to coerce Rob Weber to eat his wings. We had to get the bartender to come over and tell Rob to eat his blanken wings. So this is the kind of place, there's no two ways about it. You serve, the food gets served, you eat the food. You don't start complaining, oh, it's too
Yeah,
spicy,
let
whatever.
me explain. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
that I have anything against wings themselves, but the sauce on these wings, they scalded my
okay.
eyeballs.
The sauce was
Nuclear, I
fucking
think, is the
delicious.
term.
Like if they
Very good
bottled it, I
sauce.
would have bought a case and had it shipped. It's that good. It's right at the peak of where the flavor and the heat
Yeah,
max out.
peak.
Yeah.
But I think
So
what Robbie is talking about here is the folks that came from the NASCAR race
Yeah.
earlier in
yes,
the
yes.
bar, and
Yeah.
one particular woman that had zeroed in on him, and I've never seen Robbie so cowed by somebody.
So
And
Dude, you became Mount Rushmore. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
so the thing that I'll always remember about the peanut is that other than good times and good friends and good clientele. Um, if you're trying to describe the place, I'd say it's like a condemned building decorated with old college dorm room furniture and Farrah Fawcett posters.
Yeah.
So
Do I have it?
There was
Do I have
not
it
a
right?
single chair that matched in there.
and to that point, when we went back the next day, we went there and the sign on the door said, "Door broke, go round back."
So yeah, and when we had to walk through the kitchen to get into the
Yeah.
bar area.
And it was as amazing the second time as it was the first.
So
But the main
we're
part, let's get to the main part of Kansas City.
okay. We're in Kansas City, and Kansas City is the home of barbecue, and there are several restaurants and establishments competing for the top barbecue in Kansas City. And if you ask somebody their opinion of what the best place to go is, if you ask three people, you're going to get three different opinions, and they are very fervent about what's the best. Um, I was able to sample a place called Q39, which is excellent. We as a group went to Jack Stack, which is excellent. And the last one we went to, which is also excellent, is Casey Joe's, which was awesome. It's a
Yeah.
That
converted
was
gas
the
station.
yeah. Yeah.
Great, great place. So we meet up with some friends of ours, uh, Nona and Jack, who are Kansas City residents.
Nona and
And
Jack. Hey.
yeah, we convinced them to accompany us to the National Negro Baseball Museum, which is in downtown Kansas City and is run by our good friend Bob Kendrick. Jeff and Marty had called ahead to let Bob know that we were coming as if we're some kind of important guests. And Bob treated us like important guests. He showed up that day, met us at the museum, and told us a little bit about the history of the museum. So, Tara, tell us a little bit about your thoughts about the museum.
Well, I had no idea of how talented the Negro Leagues were, and they're within their own competition. They, and of course, I didn't realize how many years the Negroes were kept away from the Major League Baseball. How many years were they kept out?
All of them.
Yeah. Anyway,
Went to about
just
1947 or so.
Which is like, before you go on, I just want to say, like, most of our favorite ball players are, there's no, we're probably 50-50, right? Everybody's got, in your top 5 ball players, 2 or 3 of them would be players of color, and we don't
right,
even realize or recognize that they're of color until we actually think about it. You just go, yeah, this guy and that guy and that guy. Like, Clemente is one of my heroes, and it never occurred to me that he wasn't, he didn't look like me. That just wasn't a factor, and I wish that was true historically.
right. We grew up with every mixed race in baseball.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
knowing that uh, they were keeping Negroes out of the MLB for a long time,
Yeah,
but they were really fastidious about keeping track uh, of their records, and there's some amazing records that they accomplished.
Yep.
Hence the blending of Negro League records in the MLB as of what this month, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that
yep,
it's fascinating, and the museum is very well done, really beautiful.
yeah.
Um,
It
they
makes you want to.
moved.
It makes you wish you had been able to see a game.
Yeah. So um, it's a quick tour compared to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, but we found out after we left that there is a huge amount of funding coming through for them to remodel and expand the museum. So I'm thinking we'll see that in the next few years, and we'll probably need to make another trip back there, guys. It'll be a lot bigger. The thing I remember was uh, Geddy Lee from the band Rush
Yep.
has allowed his collection of Negro League baseballs that are autographed to be
Oh,
displayed at the museum. So it's a lot of fun to see that.
Absolutely.
We
that's
also,
Robbie, what did you like?
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna
Excuse
say,
me, Big Juicy.
I was gonna say, I like after the museum, we went over to the YMCA, Kansas City YMCA, which was the headquarters of the Negro Leagues when they incorporated and got started as a league, and to see that building still there, and that's going to be part of the whole redevelopment effort around the museum, and then that ball field, that little ball field that's right next to the YMCA, all that's going to be turned into a monument for the Negro Leagues.
Yep, absolutely.
and Robbie. What impressed you the most?
Well, I mean, to Jonesy's credit, reaching out to Bob Kendrick, and Bob Kendrick actually showing up and talking to us and telling us some of the behind the scenes stories that you don't normally hear about the. I mean, the guy's on MLB Network, he's on ESPN, he's all over the place promoting the history of the league, and to actually spend an hour with the guy, kind of one on one with us specifically, telling us about the story. I mean, I think he could feed off of our interest in the history of the league, and um, it was great. Just being, it felt like becoming part of it. I felt like we were attached to it, so
Yeah, totally agree.
I'll never forget that feeling. Yeah.
So the next day we did catch our first Royals game at Kauffman Stadium. Um, Beautiful stadium, a little bit older, but kept up really nice. It's right next to Arrowhead Stadium where the Chiefs play. Um, we got cardboard crowns because this was our first Royals game.
Your
Um,
first Royals game, I had been to a couple.
all right,
I,
right. So
I and I it was I remember how stressed you were over the $8 parking.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Insider knowledge.
Yeah.
Prepay your parking before you get there.
But a good night in KC, and that was the end of our 2022 trip.
Yep.
A great time. Hey, Robbie, now's a good time to talk about your favorite topic.
What you drinking?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a weird twist tonight. We're we're sponsored by Almanac Brewing, one of America's greatest premier craft brewers. Where we are here in DC, just up the street, there's a very small, fine spirits and wine and liquor store that didn't have Almanac, which
What?
I know it was stunning. So, I gave the guy an earful about the lack of Almanac brewing availability out here in Washington, D.C., 3,000 miles away from where the brewery is. Uh, but so unofficially tonight, we are sponsored by my other favorite beer, Yingling. Now, for
Yay.
those of you that live on the East Coast, you probably go Yingling. Oh God! But for those of us that live on the West Coast where we can't get this is liquid gold. Well, liquid bronze. I mean, if when you pour it in a glass. So as much as we love Almanac, and we always love Almanac, and you should go to Almanac when you're in Alameda, California. When we're on the East Coast, Yingling is what we're knocking back. We bought two 24 packs, and I think we've got about a half a dozen left. So
And
I
we're just
would
getting started.
I
yeah,
would go
yeah,
as far to say this is the Eastern Daylight Time program.
yeah,
So when you're in the
absolutely.
Eastern Daylight time zone, have
I,
have a Yingling.
I feel like
Yes.
Seth Meyers, like we're on at 11:30 in California on the West Coast, but here, hey, it's 8:30. But anyway, so Almanac is our sponsor, but boy, oh boy, if you live in a place where you can't get Yingling, when you can get it, it's pretty damn awesome. So,
Yeah.
Yingling, if you're looking for a show to sponsor,
Hey, look!
All
Hey,
right.
look who
Hey.
I've got here.
Are we really sponsored by Yingling
Marty,
Yes,
Yes.
the Eastern Daylight Time Zone.
in Eastern
It's
Daylight?
the
all
Eastern.
right,
See, I
before
knew
we
we
go
were
on,
coming up in the world. I'm glad to hear that.
we do have two what you drinkins from JC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna
Did-
go on
What
to
you
what you're
drinking?
drinking by JC and them.
okay, all right. Now,
A Seaside West Coast IPA.
Oh,
Very smooth. Not too hoppy like most IPAs. Just perfect for a 95-degree day in California.
ah, yeah.
Have
See,
fun in DC, boys.
yeah,
Cheers.
JC, it's much cooler here. It's what, 91?
Yeah, but with the wind chill factor, it's 90.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, one more from JC.
By the way, that Seaside IPA is by Almanac, in
Oh,
case
yeah.
you didn't know.
Thank you. Thanks, JC.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
JC let me try one of those recently, and I I thought it was great. It's much better than some of the sours that I've been drinking.
It was so good you wet your diaper.
All right, folks. It is now time to plan out that 2023 trip. Where will the Lowlifes go in 2023? And again, after much studying and determining what we would do in addition to baseball, we decided on a Milwaukee Chicago trip. We
Which
start in Milwaukee, seeing the Brewers play our beloved Giants. And we take Amtrak down to Chicago to catch some games at Wrigley and some games at US Cellular where the White Sox are. So it's again May of 2023. We get ourselves out to Milwaukee eventually. Big Juicy and I had a few travel problems. I think it took us 13 hours to get across country, but we made it. And we stayed in a hotel. I think it was called the Brew House Inn,
yes,
which was a converted Pabst brewery that was made into a hotel. A great experience. Um, my good friend, now our good friend Dave Cross joined us. So there was 7 of us on the trip now. And we went into Milwaukee and decided to plan out what we would do before our night game versus the Giants. And after asking a few locals about what we could do, they pointed us to the National Bobblehead Museum, which happens to be across the street from a place that Rob told us about, the Broken Bat Brewery, which happens to have an indoor wiffle ball stadium.
Yes, it does.
What the experience? So, Tara, tell me about how you felt during that day of activities.
That was a great day. That was so fun. Um, we did we get? Is this where we had those giant hamburgers?
Yep.
I think we had giant hamburgers. Then we went over to the Broken Bat and went in. And if you'd ever think you think wiffle ball is just a kid's game, it's a challenge because people know how to make the ball really move. We had a blast in there. I got Marty right on my shoulder here, so that's what you can hear.
And actually, he's 20 feet away. I can see it.
Yeah. Marty, the one man party.
So,
Broken Bat.
if I remember right, they told us they built the stadium inside the brewery during the pandemic to kind of create an environment where the workers wouldn't feel so isolated from everything, and they could do things together because that was basically
bonding.
their pod of people during the pandemic. So
It was employee bonding.
yeah. And I remember he told us that when business picked up again, he said, I'm going to have to get rid of this wiffle ball stadium and we'll put in some more brewery tanks. And the employees said, no, you're not doing that. This is important. We need this. So guy figured out, hey, I can make some money off this. He created wiffle ball leagues, and that brings more income into the brewery. So,
Can you remember some of the names of their brews?
oh, Rob, what do you got here?
Well, there was the strawberry sour.
The Darryl strawberry sour.
That's it.
Yeah.
How about the Ophir cold pale?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because
Big Juicy.
Our baseball league was an Ophir. I had been hitting
Yeah,
the ball, putting the ball in play with no hits. I saw that shirt, Ophir Cold IPA, with this freezing batter with the icicles hanging off them. I thought, I got to get that shirt.
Yep.
Every beer. So it's saying every beer in the brewery has a baseball themed name.
Very creative.
I go to the website and look them up. They have the current names, the retired names. They're brilliant. They're really so. And the backstory is one of the owners. There's two owners. One of them they were both business majors. One of them pitched at Marquette University and was actually a very good pitcher. Blew out his shoulder, and he said, "How can I keep doing baseball, but also use my business degree?" He and his partner developed Broken Bat Brewing, and away you go. So it's a great backstory. Really good people, a lot of fun there. Like if you go to Milwaukee, you got to make Broken Bat Brewing part of your
Yes.
And it's a great town anyway. So, but make sure you're adding that to your business.
And also, don't forget the cheese curds.
Yes.
Yeah.
They go great with beer.
Yes.
They do.
So we kind of glossed over the bobblehead museum, which is, most people they equate bobbleheads with baseball, but this is every bobblehead you could possibly think of.
Yeah, from Bruce Lee to basketball to baseball, of course, to Marvel comics.
Cereal mascots.
Cereals.
Did Marissa Tomei from My Cousin Vinny?
Yes.
They had 10,000 bobbleheads on rotation.
Yes, a lot of them are donated by folks to be displayed for a certain period of time. A lot of fun, and they tell you when you come in that if you find Waldo, you win a prize. So somewhere in their collection, which they move every day, is a Waldo bobblehead that gets moved to a different spot. And if you find him, you get a prize. So we really enjoyed it. It's took us a couple hours to go through it. You learn the history of bobbleheads and get to see some of the ones that are less regional. A lot of the Bay Area ones we've seen, but get to see the ones that are created all around the country or
And
world.
admittedly, I blew it because I was looking for Robert Redford from the Great Waldo Pepper, so I was like completely on the wrong track.
And wasn't the Giants Willie Mays bobblehead the first of the bobbleheads? And they've got one now.
The bobblehead renaissance. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So we met up with some good friends of ours, Angie and Michael Simon, and we all went to the Brewers Giants game that night. If I remember right, the Giants crushed the Brewers,
Yes.
and we had a great stay in Milwaukee. Hopped on the train and headed down to Chicago, which was about
Oh,
90 minutes, if I remember right.
hey, Rob, Webby, you forgot about the bachelorette party sitting right behind us.
Oh
No,
yeah, and
he
that was
blocked
on
it out.
Blocking
it out
purpose.
is forgetting about
Yeah.
Yeah,
that just flavored the whole experience.
it was important for us to move away before we got hit by
Barfed
anything.
on.
All right, now we're in Chicago, and we are staying at what we've been told is a baseball themed hotel. And Robbie, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it.
the
Oh, yeah.
Majestic.
Hotel.
The Majestic. So the Majestic is sitting in a residential area near Wrigley Field, probably
It's
about
right off of Lakeshore Drive.
right off of Lakeshore. I think it's a converted apartment complex, but it is decorated in everything Chicago Cubs.
An old timey little.
Yeah,
It's great,
so
beautiful.
really fun place to stay, and very much within walking distance of Wrigley Field.
It's an 8-minute stroll or a 4-minute power walk.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we decided on the next day to take our first walk into out to Wrigley Field to see a Cubs Reds game. But we wanted to go to some of the famous bars out and around the stadium, especially Murphy's Bleachers, which many of you have heard of, and it's everything that you've heard of and more. It's just a great place to be and a great place to mix with other baseball fans.
That is in center field.
Yeah.
Is the Harry Carey statue right there?
Right
Yes,
across the
yes.
street.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I would want the owners of Bilko's, the bar I go to all the time, to hear this, but Murphy's is the best bar in America.
Yeah. It was really fun.
If you're a baseball fan, forget about it.
We got there kind of early, and there was nobody in there. We got there near game time. It was wall to wall people, shoulder to shoulder. It was great.
Everybody talks about the Cubby Bear, but Murphy's is the bar. If you like baseball, forget about it.
Yeah, totally agree. Great experience. Great game that we saw between the Cubs and Reds, and wonderful seats that Robbie acquired for us. Just had a great time, and we spent the day there and headed back to our hotel for a nice evening on the town at Gibson's Steakhouse. Robbie, tell us a little bit about Gibson's.
All right, so if you know Chicago, Gibson's is the steakhouse. It's a tremendous place. Gary Matthews, many of you know him as the Sarge, kind of an icon in Chicago. Friend of mine, friend of several of us, but he took care of us. He made sure that the maitre d' knew we were coming. He set us up for the best possible experience you could ever have. And I mean, I I don't know how else to describe it. When a Chicago icon calls the Chicago Icon restaurant and says my friends are coming, they couldn't have been more amazing. We had the great wait staff. The food was amazing. We got a dessert cake that was about a foot and a half tall with a knife stuck in it. Like, I mean, it was just it's the quintessential Chicago experience. I mean, we felt like Chicago kingpins that night.
Yes.
For a couple hours, we ran the city, and it was amazing. So, yeah,
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Sarge. And
yep,
thank you, Gibsons.
absolutely.
So now we are checking out some of the local bars that evening. We make it back to the Majestic, and we're ready for our next day of adventure in Chicago. I may have some of this out of sequence, but we went to Carrie's restaurant
Yep,
downtown.
Saw the Holy Cow.
Yeah, we
What?
went to the Billy Goat
Holy
Tavern.
cow!
Billy Goat, cheeseburger.
Yeah, Billy Goat Tavern made famous by Saturday Night Live. Let's see, what else did we do?
Pepsi, no Coke.
Oh
We did
yes,
the
Navy Pier.
Navy Pier.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
we
Navy
went to
Pier.
Navy Pier and saw some live bands that were awesome.
Oh,
And we
that
saw
was fun.
the Bob Newhart statue
Yeah.
and the Pequods.
Yes,
Oh, the
we
pizza.
were looking to try out some Chicago deep dish pizza,
Yeah.
and we were told by some people that their
That's
favorite
tough, Dave.
was X, but a lot of people said Pequods.
That's right.
So we put our name in. I think we waited an hour or so and
Or
got a
more.
table, and it was awesome. And I'm looking at you guys. I think most of you had one piece.
I had
I
one piece. That was
yeah,
it.
I had two because you know I'm a fat guy,
Hey,
but excellent pizza.
It was.
tomato sauce is my vegetable. I had two and a half.
That's right. That's right. So we did catch another Cubs Reds game that day, and then it was the final day of the trip, and we were going to go see the White Sox at U.S. Cellular Field. Now, I grew up in the Chicago area, and we were always told that the South Side is a dangerous part of town. You don't want to be there. But the ballpark got rave reviews,
They
and I
even have
got
a
to
song
say,
about the South
it
Side.
was it was awesome. We had a great time at Cellular Field. I highly recommend it. Great food, great great drink, uh, great people. And we happened that night to see the White Sox versus the Angels. So we got to see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout come in and play against the White Sox, and Liam Hendricks, who was returning from cancer and pitching in his first game that night. So it's kind of cool. Tara, what do you remember about the night?
Well, the Liam Hendrick, he was also a former A's pitcher,
Yes.
and so that's how I remember him. Didn't actually remember that he was playing for the White Sox, but uh, just a really beautiful. We had a great time. You know, the South Side of Chicago is a dangerous part of town. No, it was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
Robbie, how about you?
Yeah,
White Sox? White Sox?
it was a fun night. I mean, they actually had a beer there called Beer for Baseball Games, and that was the name of the beer, and it tasted like a beer for a baseball game. So, I mean, I had been to that park before. They had cleaned it up a little bit, but that's sorry, that stood out for me. Beer for baseball games. Big Juicy.
I remember the young woman that was just in the next section over that was
Shouldn't be surprised.
head to toe decked out in white socks. She had a suit on with a jacket and a tie, just the whole with the logo all over everything. So I talked to her, and this is just when Liam Kendricks was coming back, so she wanted to delay to see his, appearance on the mound after his battle with cancer. But after that, she comes over because I told her we wanted to have a picture with her and all that. So she was such a diehard Sox fan that, and I could hear her because I was on the other side of the aisle from her, and I tell you, she could. She could talk like a sailor, when the White Sox weren't playing well, but we got her to come over and
she
take a
was
picture, and I
she was
this
honest.
great picture, all us old guys here with this young woman that's a total White Sox fan.
Very cool. Very cool. So that was the end of our 2023 trip.
What? Oh, never mind.
Go ahead, Ter.
Oh, I was just going to mention the water fountains in Kansas City,
Oh,
out in center field. I don't think we mentioned that. That's one of the highlights of that stadium. Sorry.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, and what I hear lately is they might be considering a downtown stadium. So if you
All
want to see
right.
Kaufman, you better go soon. Yeah,
that would be a shame because that ballpark is actually really nice for,
yeah, yeah.
especially given the age. And maybe the people in Kansas City don't appreciate it, but it's a great ballpark.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, that is also in the Kansas City Chiefs parking lot. Both
And
stadiums,
and
Kauffman
they have
and Chiefs.
and they have the 3 barbecue sandwich with barbecue pork, barbecue beef, and barbecue chicken. So I
And
mean,
it's
there's no
delicious.
reason to move the stadium based on that alone.
Yeah. So here we are. It's 2024, and we are in Washington D.C., overlooking Nationals Park, and we are going to see a Nationals game day after tomorrow. We're going to trek down on Amtrak to Baltimore to see a game at Camden Yards.
I mean, technically we're going up, but whatever. You do you, bro.
Okay. And then we'll finish up in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank to add 3 more ballparks to our collection. And we've already begun the planning for 2025. We're leaning towards a Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh trio, but nothing's been decided yet. So it's still
I
up
said
in the air.
Louisville because of the Louisville Slugger Factory,
A great idea, of course. Yes.
and it's got lots of alcohol.
and how about this, viewers? If you
Good
have
program.
an idea,
Yes.
why don't you call in and
Yes.
tell us what you think we should do.
Totally agree. We are going to be seeing the Babe Ruth Museum on this trip. We are going to probably do the monuments tour. All the things you should do when you're visiting these cities. We'll have some Philly cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, so
At least
should be
4,
fun.
maybe
Yeah.
6. Hey,
So,
we
Robbie, give me 30 seconds. I'll run over our other shows, and then looks like we can dive into a lot of comments.
all right. I'm gonna look at the Capitol while you talk.
That's fine. Pan the camera for our guests.
It's
Um,
right there. It's right there.
Tomorrow night,
That's it.
Yankees Coast to Coast will be doing a show that
Boo!
Boo.
boo, that highlights
We'll not be happy.
Yeah.
some of the quirkiness and and strange things that have happened during this baseball season, both on the field and off. Um, so again, join them at 4 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. Jim Darby, Easton executive, will be doing a show on Wednesday, June 19th, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific. Jim has decided this show will be all about Pete Rose, the Hit King. Uh, Jim and Pete are good friends and have had a long relationship together with Easton, and he wants to devote his show to Pete. So it should be fun. That's next Wednesday, the 19th. A couple of shows that have been out of circulation for a while, but should be ramping up soon. The Rick Barry Show. Rick and his host Cyrus will talk everything basketball. And then the Florida Sports Hall of Fame show with John Rieger and Barry Smith. Um, John and Barry interview folks that have been inducted into the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. Folks like Fred Bolitnikoff and Wade Boggs have been recent guests. All right. Hey, Robbie,
Yes, sir.
let's get to some of our comments.
All right. I like this one. I wish Marty and Jonesy, who are sitting at a table by themselves having a little tea party away from the rest of us, would be part of this one. But here we go.
Out of the 4 trips you've taken, what are your top 5 favorite places that you've visited thus far?
Okay. So let's get, I mean, it's interesting how specific we could be. I mean, I think all of us would say the peanut.
That's one.
Uh, people would probably say Jack Stack.
2,
well,
for sure.
People,
just Kansas City barbecue in general.
yeah, that's true. That's true. People would probably say the Bobblehead Museum, the Negro Baseball Museum, and the Broken Bat Brewery. Now that's 5 things that are completely outside of going to the baseball games themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's alcohol and food related.
and I'm going to tell you,
That is all about
I
us.
I am not a Cubs fan. I love Wrigley Field. I love going with the guys on the trip that have never actually been to Wrigley just to see. I mean, everybody turned 12
Yeah,
that day. When
yeah,
you walk in
yeah.
and you see the field and you see the ivy and the brick for the first time and that the scoreboard, just to see that look on everybody else's face, that's priceless to me.
Or when you're outside, you're on
yeah,
the street corner out there, and you see the front entrance to Wrigley,
Yeah.
that iconic sign, Wrigley Field. It's like, wow, this goes back decades and many decades.
And
It's
then
cool.
for me, the Hall. I could go for 2 months to the Hall of Fame every single day, and I would never get tired of the place.
I learned to appreciate our weather in the San Francisco Bay Area compared to the humidity of the Midwest.
yeah.
But again, look at it's absolutely gorgeous here tonight.
I think
Here.
I think Yvonne's question is interesting, Tara, because I want to do top 5 for each of the 4 trips.
Oh
I want to
yeah,
do a
that'd
top
be fun.
20.
That'd be fun.
Hey, JC's got questions that will probably lead into that.
JC here with a few questions. I know you haven't had a chance to get around DC much, but give me your favorite restaurants from each of the 3 previous trips and this favorite watering hole as well.
Okay.
I say
I'll
we have
follow
a
up
whole
with
we could have a whole
one more
Qualifier.
show.
question.
Sometimes the watering hole and the restaurant are the same place.
Yes. And I've just realized I was remiss and completely forgot to mention Boulevard Brewing in Kansas City when we were there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh, So
Not quite as good as Almanac, but right there, like in the
right,
next tier below.
Well, these are out of our area. Of
right.
course, Almanac's
Like
going to be our number
Willie
1 at
Mays is in
home.
the Hall of Fame. He's Almanac Brewing. Don Mattingly is not. He's Boulevard.
Okay, so Cooperstown, our favorite watering hole.
Coolies.
It's Cooley's.
It's
Yes.
really
Well, the
Our favorite restaurant.
the old
Red Barn.
fashioned at the Cooperstown Distillery was
Yeah, that's
pretty
true.
awesome.
But
But
I
that's a
go
different kind
I
of
go
alcohol.
Red Barn Brewing.
okay.
The restaurant when
pouring down
he
rain.
almost drove into the ditch and we
Yeah, pouring down
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Well, you never short arms.
That's right. Okay. How about St. Louis? Favorite watering hole?
Cardinals
It's got to
Nation.
be Cardinals Nation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And favorite restaurant? Got to be Cardinals Nation, huh?
Cardinals Nation. Yeah.
That's all we did was right there.
I had a lot of pretzels. That's all I'm saying.
The best value got to be
All right.
Cardinals Nation.
Kansas City. We got
Oh,
the
man,
peanut
there's
is the watering hole,
Yep.
All those, yeah.
and
Jack,
Jack Stack.
Jack Stack is still my
yeah, I
favorite.
would say Jack Stack was the best atmosphere of the barbecue places.
Yeah.
Great. Milwaukee,
And wait,
favorite watering hole.
for a moment, it's Jack Stack at the Freight House. Don't go to the other ones. Jack Stack at the Freight House, right behind
Correct,
Union
correct.
Station.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Milwaukee, favorite watering hole, I would think would be the
Broken
hotel
Bat.
we stayed in, the Brew House Inn.
yeah,
I say
that bar
Broken
was
Bat
so much
Brewing.
Broken Bat Brewing.
Broken
Okay.
Bat.
Yeah,
That's very
it's got to
good.
be Broken Bat. Yeah, the
Okay.
baseball tie-in, the wiffle ball field,
Um,
all the different
restaurant.
foods.
Did we eat in Milwaukee? I can't remember.
We had a
Oh,
lot of the
the burgers.
bratwurst at the ballpark.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness, that thing was 10 feet long. The
Okay.
Sheboygan,
Chicago watering hole.
Sheboygan
Oh,
Bratwurst
Murphy's.
in Milwaukee.
Chicago's Murphy's.
Gibson, well, watering hole. That's not a watering hole.
Watering hole is Murphy's. I say it's Murphy's.
Murphy's, yeah, I would agree.
Yes.
Murphy's, yeah.
And the restaurant is Gibson's.
Yes,
Gibson's.
of course,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, that was a
And
great experience.
So
and
far in
JC,
DC,
that's all we can tell you so far.
well, no, so far in DC, I mean,
It's the
the hotel.
hotel.
Hotel happy hour.
Yeah.
All right, GC's got another one. I think this is our last one for tonight.
JC here. I want to hear everybody's favorite spot from the previous trips, but not Marty. I already know where that is. That's the Abbott and Costello Theater in the
Cooperstown, yes.
Hall of Fame,
Marty's not even
where
on
he
camera.
spent most of his time, I understand.
Marty's not even on camera, and I just saw him start laughing and
His shoulders were going.
All right.
Okay. Favorite spot of all of these trips.
Wow, that's hard to nail. That's hard to nail down.
I got to be a Gibson. It's just a total experience, and the fact that we had Sarge to set that up, and we were treated like royalty there, like baseball royalty, which we are not. But it was great for a night. That was a great experience by far.
I guess I would say the Baseball Hall of Fame, the experience, the 4 days, the 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 hall itself, the town, the hotel, the neighborhoods around it. I think every baseball fan's got to do that.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think, Chair?
Man, I've been thinking about it. We've had so many fun things that we've done. If I were to narrow it down, yeah, yet to come. How about that?
All right, that's
I
fair.
got some
Fair
stuff
enough.
coming up. We have some trips coming up we'll see if they can top any of them. I'll let you know.
So I think we've run through our time.
Hey, wait! I didn't get to pick one.
Yeah, we're just going to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, not now.
Okay.
Robbie,
Then you cut off.
what's your highlight, Robbie?
Thank you, Terry, for asking. It's sort of I mean, I love the Hall of Fame. I could spend hour after hour after hour at the Hall of Fame, but there's something special about Wrigley too. I mean, I'm not a Cubs fan. I don't hate the Cubs. I'm not a Cubs guy, but there's just something about that it smells baseball, it feels baseball, it looks baseball, it sounds baseball. I mean, it touches baseball. I mean, all five senses come alive at that ballpark. And we were fortunate enough on that trip to go to a couple of games where we sat right behind the Cubs dugout. I mean, down in the lower deck. I'm not sure I could ever go back and sit in a worse seat because of that. But I mean, that ballpark there's something about it. It's everything that you learn at the Hall of Fame happened at some point or another at Wrigley. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a tie for me.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's a cop out, but there's
No, it's not. No, it's not. So originally we had planned to expand this show a little bit with some of the other Lowlifes. They weren't able to attend, and we want to do a show in a few weeks that includes them and some of the trips that they've been on. They've got some great ideas that I think everybody would want to hear about. So probably in a 2 weeks time, we'll do another show about road trips. We will have another show next Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific. Topic to be determined. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And we don't have any play out music, right, Rob?
Yeah, but we can sing it again.
All right. Yeah.
But also
Yeah.
let's thank the callers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, callers.
And those of you who are watching us, please hit that microphone, share with us. We won't bite.
And Big
And
Juicy, it's nice to see you on screen too.
and Bonnie, we're gonna beat this shit.
That's right.
That's right.
Hang in there, baby.
Here's to you, Monty.
Yep.
All right.
You
You guys gonna sing or what?
Yeah.
And the two.
Highlights
Highlights
from
Lowlifes.
Lowlifes.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
Hey,
Good night, everyone.
Who
Kill it
wrote
quick.
that? Who
I
wrote
gotta have
that
more
jingle?
jingling. Ah.
Hey, Robbie, who wrote that jingle?